Hey guys, I just wanted to say good morning, and we are missing you here at church today. We are back in person. I know not all families are ready for that quite yet, but I just want you to know how much I miss you guys, and I wanted to do a lesson with you today. So this is what our kids are learning today. It's from the book of Ezra, which is in the Old Testament part of the Bible. So many years before God's people were taken to Babylon, God promised the prophet Jeremiah that the exile would last 70 years. It seems like a long time, but it was kind of cool that God told him when. So then God would bring his people back home. God always keeps his promises. Cyrus, the king of Persia, had taken over Babylon, and God gave Cyrus an idea. Cyrus said, "Let all of God's people go back to Jerusalem so they can rebuild the temple. Give them gold and silver and animals. Give them gifts for God's temple." Now, Cyrus was not God's guy. He wasn't one of God's people, but God used Cyrus for the good of his people, which is so awesome. God can use our enemies for good. So he has ultimate control over everything. The exile was over. So not only did he have Cyrus share this information that they could be let go, but God also told him for them to give them silver and animals and gold and all of that, gifts for them to go build God's temple. So people go back to their homes, and God's people got ready, and their neighbors gave them all of their gifts, gold and silver and animals and other expensive things to go back home. Zerubbabel and the high priest led God's people back to Judah. They had been away for 70 years. Many of the people were born in Babylon. They had never seen the land that God had given their parents and grandparents. All they knew was about Babylon and being in captivity. So in all, thousands of people went back to Judah. They settled in their hometowns and they set up their houses. And then the people met together in Jerusalem and built to rebuild the Lord's temple. First, the priests rebuilt the altar in the same place that it used to be. It was all done. They followed all the laws for building the temple that God had set forth. When the altar was finished, they offered burnt offerings to God, thanking him just for all that he had done. The people also obeyed the law about special celebrations. They had a festival like God had told them to do, and they made sacrifices to God. Then the people gave money to stone cutters and carpenters who would work on God's temple. They paid people to bring cedar logs into Jerusalem, big cedar logs, big trees. And finally, when everything was ready, the people started to work. They laid the foundation of the temple. The foundation was important. It would make the building strong. It's the bottom part. And so we talk about having a foundation built on Jesus Christ, because it is the strongest thing that we can build our life on. When the foundation was finished, the priests put on special clothes and they praised God. They sang, "The Lord is good. His faithful love will last forever." Then the people shouted and praised God. They were so happy. The foundation of the temple was complete. Not everyone was happy, though. Some of the older people remembered that what the temple had looked like 70 years before it had been destroyed, and they cried. The noise of the crying and shouting was so loud that the people could be heard far away. Now, Zerubbabel led God's people back to the temple to rebuild it. The temple was a place where God met with his people here on earth. Jesus came to earth to rescue God's people, and one day Jesus will return to restore a greater home for all of God's people, and we will spend eternity with him. So I have a challenge for you guys. I would love to see you rebuild something. I would love to see you build a temple. Build it out of blocks. You can build it out of canned goods. You can build it out of all of the cereal boxes and rice boxes and stuff like that in your home, in your kitchen. Whatever mom will let you use. Cups or bowls or Legos, whatever you want. I would love for you to build a temple for me. And while you build rebuild that temple, I just want you to think about God's promises to us. He promises us eternity with Him. He promises us that we will never be alone. And I just want you to think about the promises that God makes to you and the promises that God made to His people. And He fulfilled that promise that they would go out of captivity after 70 years back into their own home. And he held true to that promise, and He will hold true to our promises as well. So I hope you have a great week. I would love to see those pictures or videos of your rebuilding. And if you do send them in to me, I will put your name in a drawing for a gift card. So you can put them on Messenger, your parents can, or you can text me if you have my number. Talk to you guys later.